Immigration reform is back in the spotlight, and this time it's taking the form of a bipartisan proposal that's stirring up a heated national conversation. It's called the Dignity Act of 2025, and it's already being described in dramatically different ways. Some critics are calling it an amnesty bill, while supporters insist it's a practical, balanced solution that could finally break America's decades-long immigration gridlock. The burning question is, does this bill actually stand a chance of becoming law in the current political climate? On the surface, the Dignity Act promises to combine tougher border enforcement with a legal status program for millions of undocumented immigrants. It also includes big changes to green card wait times, student visa rules, and employment verification systems. It's a sweeping piece of legislation, but politics in Washington have killed far less controversial bills before. So in this video, we're breaking down exactly what's inside the Dignity Act, who supports it, who's against it, and whether it can realistically make it through Congress. By the end, you'll have the full picture and be able to decide for yourself whether this is the breakthrough America has been waiting for, or just another immigration bill destined to fail. The Dignity Act of 2025, officially introduced as H.R. 4393 on July 15, 2025, comes from an unusual political pairing: Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar from Florida and Democratic Congresswoman Veronica Escobar from Texas. The bill is designed as a grand compromise. It offers a way for long-term undocumented immigrants to earn legal status while delivering tougher border controls to satisfy security-minded lawmakers. At its heart is the Dignity Program. This program would allow undocumented immigrants who have been living in the U.S. continuously since December 31, 2020, to apply for legal status. But it's far from a free pass. Applicants would have to clear a background check, repay any back taxes, pay $7,000 in restitution over 7 years, and prove they're working, studying, or serving their community for at least 4 of those years. If they meet all those conditions, they would be granted dignity status, a renewable legal presence that allows them to work and travel without fear of deportation. However, dignity status does not provide a direct path to citizenship, and recipients would remain ineligible for federal welfare programs. The bill also contains a significant lifeline for dreamers, young immigrants brought to the U.S. as children. Under the Dignity Act, dreamers who arrived before age 18 and before January 1, 2021, could obtain conditional permanent resident status. To remove the conditions and receive a full green card, they'd need to complete a college degree, serve at least 3 years in the U.S. military, or work legally for 4 years. Supporters say this provision finally delivers stability to young people who have spent most of their lives in the U.S. but still face uncertain futures. Critics, however, argue that the process remains too long and restrictive for people who, in many cases, have already proven their commitment to the country. One of the most controversial features of the Dignity Act is how it tackles the green card backlog. In the current system, some immigrants, particularly from countries like India, wait decades for their applications to be processed. The Dignity Act would cap green card waits at 10 years. Even more striking, it includes a provision allowing anyone who's been stuck in the backlog for longer than that to pay $20,000 to fast-track their application. Backers argue that this would speed up the system and raise revenue to support workforce programs. Opponents blast it as a green card for the rich scheme that undermines fairness. The bill also changes the rules for international students and workers. One major update is the creation of dual-intent visas for foreign students, which would allow them to study in the U.S. while applying for permanent residency, something current visa rules make complicated. But there's a trade-off. The bill would remove the current tax exemption for students on optional practical training, requiring them to pay Social Security and Medicare taxes like other workers. Many universities and tech companies worry that this could make the U.S. less attractive to top global talent, potentially driving graduates toward countries with friendlier tax policies. To attract Republican support, the Dignity Act comes with strict enforcement measures. It would require asylum cases to be processed within 60 days using new facilities at the border. It mandates E-Verify for all employers, ensuring that every new hire is legally authorized to work in the U.S. It also invests heavily in border technology, infrastructure, and personnel. An American Worker Fund, financed by the restitution fees paid by Dignity Program participants, would provide job training and apprenticeships for U.S. citizens. The idea is to reassure voters that legalizing undocumented immigrants won't harm American workers, but instead support them. The Dignity Act has gained support from an unusual alliance of business leaders, immigrant advocates, and moderate politicians. Groups like the Niskanen Center and FWD.US call it a balanced compromise that strengthens both the economy and border security. The U.S. Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, along with numerous small business associations, supports the bill for its potential to stabilize industries that rely on immigrant labor, such as agriculture, hospitality, health care, and construction. Supporters emphasize that it's not blanket amnesty. Participants must work, pay restitution, and stay out of trouble. Yet, the opposition remains strong. Many conservative Republicans see any path to legal status as amnesty by another name, fearing it will encourage more illegal immigration. On the other end of the spectrum, some Democrats and immigrant rights groups criticize the bill for failing to include a clear route to citizenship for the millions who might qualify for dignity status. The $20,000 fast-track fee for green cards has also triggered backlash, with critics saying it turns the immigration process into a pay-to-play system. And the elimination of the tax exemption for OPT students is deeply unpopular among universities and companies that rely on international graduates. When it comes to passing in 2025, the odds aren't great. Republicans currently control both the House and the Senate. And while a handful of members might be open to compromise, the party's leadership has little appetite for legalization measures. Democrats may be more supportive of the legalization components, but are uneasy with the bill's tougher enforcement measures. Immigration reform has failed repeatedly over the past 2 decades, and the Dignity Act faces the same uphill battle. Still, even if it doesn't pass in its current form, it could influence future negotiations by showing what a middle ground approach might look like. If the bill were to pass, the impact would be massive. Millions of undocumented immigrants would be able to live and work openly without fear of deportation. Dreamers would finally have a formal path toward permanent residency. Green card backlogs would shrink, helping skilled workers and their families. Industries with labor shortages would benefit from a more stable workforce. Border enforcement would be faster and more advanced. However, without a citizenship option, many would still feel left out of the American dream, living legally but without full rights. The Dignity Act's introduction comes at a time when immigration is one of the most polarizing issues in U.S. politics. Its sponsors are trying to shift the narrative, arguing that legalization and border security don't have to be opposing goals. They can work together. Whether that vision can survive the fierce political divides in Washington remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: this bill has sparked a conversation that could shape the immigration debate for years to come. The Dignity Act of 2025 is ambitious, controversial, and potentially game-changing. For some, it's a long-overdue compromise that could bring stability to millions and help the U.S. economy. For others, it's either too lenient or too harsh, pleasing no one fully. It walks a political tightrope, trying to satisfy both sides, but that might also be what keeps it from passing. Whether it becomes law or not, its impact on the immigration conversation is undeniable. So, what do you think? Is the Dignity Act a fair and realistic compromise? Or is it just another political showpiece with no real chance of passing? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I want to hear from you. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more updates, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next deep dive into the policies shaping America's future.